Hey everyone! Today, we're going to talk about a piece of technology that has absolutely reshaped the modern battlefield, the drone. We're going to trace its journey from just a simple idea all the way to its role today as a critical military asset. So let's get right into it.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple but incredibly powerful question. This isn't just some random quote. It's the exact problem that engineers and military thinkers have been trying to crack for more than 100 years. How do you see what's happening and project power without putting human lives on the line? This one question is the engine that's been driving everything we're about to talk about.
Okay, so you've got this incredible idea. But having a great idea is one thing, turning it into a real world tool that actually works, that needs a plan, a blueprint. Before you can build it, you got to know exactly what it is you're building. And you know what? The definition is actually super simple. A drone is a UAV. That's an unmanned aerial vehicle. Let's just break that down. Unmanned means no pilot inside. Aerial, yep, it flies. And vehicle, it's a machine built to do a job. This is our starting point, our foundation for, well, everything else. All right, so now that we know what we're talking about, let's get into the really cool part, the journey. We're talking about 100 years of trial and error, of conflict and breakthroughs, how this simple UAV went from just an idea on paper to something that completely changes the rules of the game. Now, this is where it gets fascinating, because each of these eras added a crucial piece to the puzzle. Think about it, World War I was literally just people trying things out, the very first kind of shaky steps. Then in World War II, they found a real job for them, but a pretty humble one. Basically, they were flying clay pigeons for gunners to practice on. But the Cold War? Oh man, that's when everything changed. The stakes were so high, right? You couldn't risk a pilot getting shot down over enemy territory, so you needed eyes in the sky that you could, well, deny you ever had. Drones were the perfect answer for that kind of spy mission. And then finally, we get to the modern era, which adds the final and maybe most important piece, the ability to not just look, but to strike. And this is the moment when drones went from being this secret, behind-the-scenes tech to front-page news. Their heavy use by the US in Afghanistan and Iraq, that's when everyone, you and me included, really started to hear about them. They weren't just a niche spy tool anymore. They were right there, front and center in modern warfare. Okay, so that's the history. But what about right now? As you can imagine, this kind of powerful technology didn't just stay with one country. It's spread. So who are the major players on the world stage when it comes to advanced drones today? So yeah, the US was definitely a pioneer, but they're not the only ones in the club anymore, not by a long shot. You've got Israel, which has been a huge innovator for a long time, especially with surveillance tech. Then you have manufacturing giants like China, who are now major players, both building and selling drones all over the world. And of course, rising powers like India are jumping in, building up their own drone programs. And this is such a great example of a really important point. It's not just about owning drones, it's about how you use them. The fact that India uses them in tight coordination with their main armed forces, that tells you everything. It shows that drones aren't some separate special ops gadget anymore. They're a standard, essential piece of the military toolkit. Okay, so we know who's flying them. Now let's talk about what these things are actually doing out there. The mission of a modern drone isn't just one single thing. It's this incredibly versatile, multi-step process that really shows you just how far the technology has come. I mean, just look at the flexibility here. A mission could kick off with surveillance and recon, just being those patient, tireless eyes in the sky. Then, that can lead to target acquisition, where it zeroes in on a specific person or object. And from there, sure, it can escalate to a combat strike, but it's not always about offense. They also handle these incredibly important jobs like border monitoring. Just imagine trying to patrol thousands of miles of remote terrain. Drones make that possible. And that brings us right back to where we started. The first question was, can a machine fly into danger instead of a soldier? Well, after a century of work, the answer is a clear and resounding yes. But, in solving that one problem, we've opened up a brand new, maybe even tougher question to think about. Now that the machine is there, what happens to the soldier? What does their future look like? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.